Hey, greetings students. Mr. Schwab here to pass on another little bit of information to you that might help throughout this week. We certainly have set up some notes in the discussion area, and you should read those in terms of the walk, which is going to be a rather challenging project this week, but I'm going to try to give you a few pointers. First of all, the most important thing I wanted to leave with you this week is that you should really try to go back and make any fixes to the projects that that we've already gone over, to try to make sure that you really understand those fundamentals of especially of ease in and ease out, of spacing your drawings, of using your key drawings and breakdown drawings as a source for your in-betweening, to try to stay away from straight ahead animation at this point, which can cause things to come up. Can cause problems of you losing proportion, or the whole idea of how drawings are spaced have the correct timing. So keep an eye out for that. But if you have any questions, be sure to send me a post and let me know how I can help. The one and most important thing this week, I think, especially with the fact that you're doing this online education, is that you really use your book, the Animator Survival Kit, as your source of information to really help you think through this process. The walk, which is the assignment 2 this week, starts on page 102, and the main information runs up to about page 111. If you just look at my discussion points this week and follow through with the book and read this, you'll absolutely understand the keyframes that I'm going to show you to try to better understand the walk. But you really need to use this as your source material. I'd really concentrate on pages 102 to 111. After that, there's like some 60 more pages of walks. I'd rather you not get into something very complex at this stage until you get this one under your belt. So anyways, getting started, the first thing that you want to do for your treadmill walk cycle is, again, start out with your field guide. Again, there's your 12 field that I posted. This week I'm actually going to use my 10 field, and I'm going to start out with my stride position, which is, if you again have read your book, you'll notice that the stride position is the main position that shows the personality. It's just the main keyframe of the walk. There's many different types of walks. There's many different types of walks that show different types of personality, but right now we're just going to try to concentrate on the basics. So the very and most important position is the stride position. Starting out, you would do this one. We're going to end up with 8 keyframes for the walk cycle. So if you start out with the main keys, you'll realize that there is the first main key, and then there's also, in a stride walk, there's going to be the opposite step. So what I did was I actually used my first drawing, laid it on my light table, and tried to just use the same keyframe layout as the first key, but I also made the adjustments for perspective and things to make sure that the feet were right, that the arms were right, that everything was right, but I kept the overall posture of the character. From that point, again, keeping in mind how the animation works, we're trying to then find the breakdown or the mid-stride position. So by laying these 2 drawings on my light table, I then lay another sheet of paper on top, and I find the mid-stride of the arms and of the legs. That would be the passing position. In some of your animation books, the passing position is the high position of the walk. In the survival kit, actually Richard Williams uses the lift, what I call the lift position, or the next keyframe that comes after this. But let's concentrate here where we started out with the stride, and then we went to the passing position. That's the drawing or keyframe that connects that first stride to the second stride. To form a cycle, we want the second stride to actually cycle back into the first stride. So then we just basically, again, take that passing position and make the opposite passing position by even just laying the 2 passing positions together on the light box. Again, trying to make sure the proportions are correct, but just creating the opposite of that first passing position. And again, all of this information is in your book. You really need to read through that. Once I have my stride and my passing position, there are then two other keyframes that break down that action. Between the stride and the passing, there's the weight transfer or the low position. So by laying my first key, which was my stride, my second key then, which was my passing position, I then, between those two, end up creating my low position. And it's very squashy. Again, you'll have reference to that in your book. Then, if I followed through on the next breakdown between the passing to the next stride, it would end up being that other position that I mentioned, which is the lift. Again, this gets in Richard Williams' book, this gets to be your high position. So at that point, again, I pretty much just took my low position and did my second drawing to mimic it by just pretty much taking it on my light table and changing the proportion, not the proportions, but the perspective of it to make sure that everything matched up. And then I took my lift position and I made the opposite for it. Again, connecting all of the strides together. All of this is explained. I'm also going to post my keyframes in the discussion area so you'll see how they work frame by frame, and you'll get to see them more clearly than you can possibly see them here. The last thing to keep in mind, as I mentioned in the discussion, is the tweening process. Once you have those 8 key drawings and you have that sequence, you can then just simply place one drawing in between each of those. You need to put your first key frame, the stride position with the weight position, the low position, and 2 drawings on your light table at a time with a fresh sheet of paper, and just in between each one of your key frames, as you'll see in my post, just straightforwardly, you'll end up with 16 drawings. Keep in mind, if you read through this and see some of the other examples they're giving you, a walk can simply have anywhere from 16 to as many as even 32 drawings, just depending upon the personality and what you're trying to get across in the walk. Plus, you can also use ease in different places. Again, it's really good to act out what you're trying to accomplish so that you really get a sense of what you're trying to communicate to the audience. So without making this movie a little bit too long, I'm going to just try to leave it at that, post the information that you need, and you can be in contact with me for any other information. I'm also going to try to get off another couple demos, short demos, to try to give you some other hints so that we can get through this hardest of weeks, tackling this walk cycle and walk sequence. So thanks for your attention, thanks for your dedication to checking out the Mr. Schwab demos, and I hope this helps, and we'll be talking to you in the discussion areas. Thanks a lot. Have a good week. Bye-bye.